Welcome to the Thin Blue Line Outdoors. My name is Cody Johnson, and I'll be your host.
I'm one happy hunter right now, man. Alright, guys. Here she is.
Here at the Thin Blue Line Outdoors, we have three goals. Show you a good time,
I just shot him.
teach you something, planting some clover down, and lead by example.
It's looking good. Great though. Congratulations. Thank you, sir.
If I can accomplish one of those three, that's a win in my book. Thanks for listening. Be safe out there. Awesome. All right, here we go. All right, this is a Thin Blue Line podcast. This is going to be episode 14 now. So we've been doing it for 14 weeks. Hard to believe. The last podcast is tracking really good numbers. So I appreciate all the love and support I'm getting here, guys. But on this podcast, I am interviewing my good friend Ian. We went to Eureka College together back in the day. And then we went to police academy together. And Ian is now a police officer here locally. And he's recently got into hunting, and he just went on a badass trip. So I kind of want to have him introduce himself, and we'll talk about his trip he went and why he get into hunting and go from there. So go ahead, Ian.
All right, man. Yeah. So, and listening to the last podcast there on week 13, I know he kind of went over the whole boom thing there. Or that might have been 12. It was 12 or 13. I don't remember what
somewhere in there.
I know you just covered the boom thing, so that may come up. I'm going to try and stick to Cody as best I can, but we'll see. No, so obviously, like you said, we've known each other now for a while. Unbeknownst to us, going to the academy and everything, I kind of pulled in a lot and saw his car there, and that was a neat experience, I think, for the both of us. So then, as far as everything else, like I'd been seeing he was doing this podcast stuff, running the Facebook page, the Instagram, everything about it, and being my friend and everything, I wanted to support it, but man, I'd never been a hunter. And so I was like, I feel like such a fake person if I'm running around wearing this stuff. And everyone's like, oh man. And I'm like, yeah, no, I've never done this a day in my life. Like, I don't know a thing about it. I couldn't do anything. But, like, I want to come out and like help my friends support the business or, whatever they got going on. And so we'll fast forward a little bit. I currently am our school resource officer. And this kind of all tails into what I end up doing here to get to this hunting trip. Befriend a teacher at the high school. His name's Jake. And so I'd been shooting bows since I was little, but I fell off quite a bit from shooting bows. As far as shooting guns, that has been something I kind of stuck with for quite a while. It's something I still enjoy and everything like that. And I got to know Jake through the school. Figured out he was a fantastic archerer, loves his Hoyt bows, stuff like that. So he is a big dude, and he loves shooting guns and stuff too. And so like he was walking down the hall one day, I'm like, man, I got a bone to pick with you. I was like, how come I never knew this? I was like, we got to get out, we got to shoot, we got to have some fun. And so we just kind of started getting together like that. He got me set up with a nice bow, started doing some work there. We set up some awesome 3D targets and everything. We go shoot bows and guns all the time. Still never hunted. Jake himself had been a very big hunter, loved doing it, everything about it. He'd always be talking to me about it, and just, he'd poke the bear, man. He'd sit there and be like, man, I'm going to get you to go. Like, I'm going to talk you into it. Eventually you're going to go. And I'm like, it's just, it was such a pain to kind of try and get into with, Illinois and everything, all the steps you got to run through. I started looking and trying to find like the hunter safety days, the field days I could go do. And then I don't know if this was a COVID thing. I don't know what it was, but they started doing everything online.
Yep.
And I was like, man, if I could go do my safety thing, my field day and all that stuff online, I'll go do it. So earlier this year, man, I sat down one day, cranked it all out in one night. I think I got done probably at like 2 a.m. And I was like, hey man, like I got it. And then not shortly thereafter, he gets a hold of me and was like, man, I want to go hunting. I was like, okay, you know what? I did this for a reason. Like that was the whole point. Like, let's come up with something.
Yep.
Not thinking that it would be anytime here soon. Nothing about it. Like I was like, oh yeah, we'll get there.
Mm-hmm.
Gets a hold of me again. He's like, hey, I want to hunt boar. He's again, know nothing about hunting. I've ate deer. I used to fish growing up. So I've been around it my whole life. But as far as knowing anything about it, about having anything I needed, nothing.
Yeah.
So I was like, you know what? Let's go hunt boar, man. Like, why not? We'll go do this. So he brought it up. We started looking a couple different places, couple different things, where we could go, Texas, Oklahoma, Missouri, all those. And we ended up picking Oklahoma. Not my pick, it was his. Like I said, I didn't know anything, so I was running off his expertise on this one. I will throw the company out there. They were awesome, fantastic to work through. It's called No Mercy Hunting in Oklahoma. It was just outside of Oklahoma City. Fantastic place. So I was getting ahead of myself there a little bit, but so we started planning again. Yep. I didn't really think this was going anywhere. This was kind of like, a pipe dream. Like we're talking about it.
Yeah.
It was cool. We're going to go hunt some boar. And then he starts getting more serious about this. He's like, no, dude, he's like, if you're in, like, let's go. I was on vacation in Florida not that long ago. Turns out he was also going to be in Florida at the same time. So we met up in Disney. And I mean, we just kind of were like, if we're going, we're going.
Yeah.
So we put the chips down and ultimately decided, hey, like, let's do this. So we started actually booking everything, getting everything set and done. And the hunt we ended up picking was a combo hunt of basically ram and then the boar, the hog. And it was not too bad price wise. I mean, as far as I know, it's pretty reasonable.
Yeah, I was going to ask you the price of it, something like that.
So I think in total it was $935, and that included for both animals, and it also included they you get put up in like a cabin.
Okay.
Since we were a small party, it ended up a third guy ended up coming in like the week before we left. We'd reached out to him too, and he ended up getting a hold of us. He's like, hey man, if I can still go, like I got the money, I'm in. And ended up having him come along too.
I think it's pretty reasonable price wise. I know I've priced some, and it's easy to get over $1,000 quickly.
Oh yeah.
So
for the two animals, and then the little bunkhouse they put us up in. The bunkhouse was nice. I mean, it had a kitchenette, little stove, oven on it, nice bathroom, bunks, everything. So I mean, they set you up.
Good.
I cannot speak highly enough. And again, I'm no expert about any of this stuff, obviously. I don't know. I have nothing to compare it to, so I might be totally talking out my butt, and somebody else is going to be like, man, you got ripped up. You know what? I don't care. The experience was what was worth it to me. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And so they down there in Oklahoma, they got us going. It was great. So into the actual, parts of all of it, why I decided I wanted to do this. Like I said, my buddy Jake had been poking the bear for a while. I'm not one to let a challenge go, something like that. So if he's going to sit there and get at me, like, man, I'm going to do it. I was going.
I didn't know that about you, Ian.
I know, right? I get going, like I go full bore. Like he was asking me questions about stuff. I go, yeah, didn't you see it on the website? And he's like, no. I'm like, dude, I spent hours. Like I combed this hunting place's website, looking for stuff I was gonna need, like everything. I was digging. Jake honestly probably got annoyed with me because I mean, past that, I'm at Bass Pro all the time, and I'm just like, hey, what do I need? What do I need? What do I need? Because we didn't know. We weren't sure. Obviously, we've never gone through them before. So he gets me spun up with basically, I mean, I was over at either his place or Bass Pro, and we were going through everything. I mean, he's like, this is what I take deer hunting. This is what I use. This is what I've got. Actually, I've got the rifle I ended up buying right there behind me.
I asked you what rifle you used.
Oh, yeah. I ended up going out and getting a Browning 308 with a Leopold scope already on it. Just a basic gun. I knew the ballistics for 308, everything like that, but I didn't have a long enough range gun I was comfortable with. But
is it a Browning A-Bolt 308?
Yes, it is.
So I have the 30-06 version.
So I was super impressed with it. I took it out when we zeroed the scope in, ran some rounds, everything in between. Getting rounds right now is kind of a pain. Everybody knows that too. If you're into shooting, it's been difficult. Oh yeah, man. So getting those 308 and the 7.62 rounds to run through that guy was not cheap. But again, like I said, I'm not one. Oh
yeah, cry. They pull the trigger.
Yep. But I'm not one to back down. So I was like, man, if I'm doing this, like I'm doing it right. So Bass Pro Cabela's, they got a pretty penny out of me for this one, but all of that was, the one-time purchase stuff. Like after this, I can actively say, man, I got hooked.
Yeah.
This was fun, and just going through. And this sounds kind of almost dumb, but it's something I think a lot of hunters, and I'm pretty sure you've talked about it before. I think Jesse has kind of talked about it before too on some of the other stuff. Is just, I think it's with the salmon one. It's you know where the food's coming from. Like, man, I went out there, I got that. Like, I know where my food is coming from. I got a whole freezer now that is full of ram and hog that I went out and got. And again, it was, as corny as it kind of sounds, I was going through that Illinois hunter safety course. And one of the things they talk about, was being the right kind of hunter, not going out there and just shooting what's ever in front of you, not just doing that stuff like this. There's a reason for hunting. And if like the hogs are obviously such a problem down there, they're such an invasive species. They like to tear stuff up. And so I think that's why a lot of these hogs gets included in these combo hunts, just because there are so many of them. And so to me, like that really resonated with me. I knew where my stuff was coming from. I knew, I knew what I was going to go do.
Yep.
But never having hunted before, at the same time, I had no clue, man. This was an entirely new experience to me. But so I'm kind of bouncing all over the place here. But so we get down there.
Yep.
And so I've been to Oklahoma quite a bit, especially Oklahoma City. I've been down there quite a bit. Had no idea where this tiny little town was. I mean, gas station and diner and a church, and that was about it. That was all there was. And honestly, you look at that diner and you're like, man, that place is a dive. But I guarantee they probably had I didn't go there, but those diners, you look at them and then you're like, that place probably has the best food around here.
Probably.
I mean, that was the town. We were not sure. Like the GPSs were not getting us where we were needing to go, really. So I mean, we're calling our guide and we're like, dude, we are on some back gravel road, and well, it's not even gravel down there. It's all that red clay.
Yeah.
And we're just driving. And he goes, oh, you see this little building and the truck sitting over there? We're like, yeah. He goes, that's me. Pull on up. We're like, okay. So we pull up, and it's a Thursday night. Talk to him, just kind of, fill out the paperwork. Oklahoma is super relaxed about all their stuff. It's not anything up like here. Basically, you go online, you fill out some stuff, and it's like, are you alive? Are you a person? Pay me $20.
That's
you can go.
That's how the fishing was when we went noodling in Oklahoma earlier this year.
Yeah.
Super easy.
I was like, man, this if everything is like this would be great. But Illinois, I don't think is that friendly when it comes to that. But I mean, it was easy. We got down there, filled out our paperwork. The guide went over the rules, everything about it. And man, I will tell you, I was nervous because they're one of their big rules, and he makes sure everybody knows it. They go out and track with you. So like if you hit your animal, the guide comes out, and like I said, I'll get to this when we really start getting into the story. But they go out and track. And so the big rule is if he finds blood but can't find your animal, that's your kill. And so you may hit it, you may kill it, but if you can't find it, you're done.
Yep.
And that comes in important here later. So man, I'm nervous. I'm like, man, I'm gonna hit something. It's gonna be gone.
Yep.
And I mean, so we'd done all of our research. Again, like I said, I'm not one to take something too light. So between all of us, I think we had researched specifically, where to hit a hog, where to hit the rams. I mean, 100 times. I could still probably draw you the diagram of what to do. I looked at it so much.
Yeah.
And so the guide kept talking, and he ran over it, and he said the exact same thing. And I was like, okay, like I got it. Like I know what I got to do. It's in my head. I got it. He said, as soon as you do that, hopefully, he's like, the animal will it'll drop. You get it there in the shoulders, the hearts, the organs, everything right up top, and it'll drop your animal. So he's like, when you do that, you've got it, and you're set. Like, all right, man, easy enough. So we take off for the night. Like I said, they put us up on property, super nice little place, just literally back down the road. And we unload all of our gear. We're sitting in the bunkhouse talking, and we're like, man, we got too much stuff.
Yeah.
I just flat out, like, we were unloading all of our stuff, and we're like, we still don't know what to expect. Like, we are still kind of going into this blind, and that's after talking to our guide.
Yep.
And so the two other guys down with us, Jake and Josh, both said they did not sleep a whole lot. I did. I was out, man. Like I was tired after the drive. We went straight down.
There's a long
I
drive.
was kind of beat. Oh yeah. And so I just went out. They did not sleep a whole lot. I think Josh slept a little. Jake said he did not sleep at all. We woke up the next morning. We were supposed to meet him at 5:30, so I think we got up at 4:30. I made some crappy instant coffee and some, dehydrated camp meals. And
I gotta ask, because I'm a coffee snob. What instant coffee did you go with?
oh man, I had Folgers. I had the Folgers little like packet.
Stuff is nasty. I've had it before.
It is. And the bad thing is, man, they even had a coffee maker down there. So I was like, I could have brought real coffee and I would have been fine. But no, I brought the instant packs, man. I was like, I needed it. I'm like, man, it's 4:30 in the morning. I don't know what I'm expecting.
That's better than nothing.
Oh yeah. And again, so I'll explain here in a second. I thought we were going to be out there all day. We were not. So we roll up 5:30, and I mean, the truck is loaded with all of our gear and everything, and we're still kind of second guessing ourselves. So the other two guys they're getting their gear, and I'm like, you know what? I don't know what I'm talking about. So this guide, that's his job. So I walk right over, man. I go, hey, I have no idea. I'm like, I gotta ask, what do we actually need for this? And he looks, and he kind of looks, and he's, man, your rifle, some bullets, maybe your water bottle if you want one. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, man, everybody ends up bringing all this stuff. He's like, you don't need it. I mean, this dude, also, sorry, our guide is probably 6'6", and just this big old Oklahoma boy. And I mean, everything about him just screams big old Oklahoma boy. And he is super relaxed about everything. You can tell he is so used to this. Like, it is just what he does. He's a great dude. But yeah, he's just like, man, just your gun and bullets. I was like, okay, I can do that. I'm like, I can do that every day.
Yep.
So I let them know, and we kind of ditch most of our stuff, and we hop in the little mule he's got, and he's kind of explaining to us what we need. He's like, I'll put you either in ground blinds or some tree stand blind type things. And again, you can tell I don't know what I'm talking about sometimes.
Yeah.
Type things. But so that's what he's telling us. They'd gotten a lot of rain recent, and so he's like, I'm not sure about all the ground blinds. They might be pretty crappy. So he's like, I might not put you in some. And so we're like, hey, do we need our harnesses then if we're going to be up in the trees? He goes, no. We're like, what? I mean, I went out like the day before we left and bought a harness because my buddy texted me, he goes, hey, we might need these. I was like, okay. So I ran out the day before, bought a harness. And he goes, man, if you want them, he's like, they're only like 10 feet off the ground. You don't have to have them. I'm like, well, in Illinois, like, we have to wear them. And he's like, nah, you don't need them. He's like, Blaze, we had to wear the Blaze orange though.
Did you?
You did have to have that. But that was it. And so we climb in this mule and off we drive.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got a mass amount of property out there. I mean, it was just massive. It was super beautiful, awesome place. Again, I cannot speak highly enough. This is not a plug for them or whatever, but I cannot speak highly enough about my experience down there.
Yep.
So first blind we get to is a ground blind, and we drop Jake off there. Our other buddy Josh was actually shooting bows, and so we put him in a bow blind, dropped him off there. And I'm the last one, of course. I'm like, yeah, of course, I gotta be the last dude getting dropped off.
Mm-hmm.
We roll up to my blind, and he's like, here you go, man, grab your stuff and hop out. And he's like, we'll be back at 8. And I was like, back at 8? I was like, okay. And so, and I realize that now, like, that's how they're going to come back out. And after you hit something, they're going to come out and track for you and whatnot. So
yeah.
This is probably 6 a.m. after I get dropped off. I get up in my stand, you know, and it's just, that's the other part of it. It's just so gorgeous out there, man. Like, just being out there, being out in nature. 6 a.m, I'm watching the sun come up over this massive property, all these trees. You can hear the animals starting to wake up. It was something else. That's not something else. If you haven't ever done it, you can't explain it past that until you just go see it, hear it for yourself. So it was beautiful. And so I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, man, like, what did I get myself into? Like, I have no idea. I don't know what's going to walk out in front of me. Nothing. About 6:15, 6:20. So I ain't even been up there long. This little hog comes walking out. I was like, okay. I'm like, he's a little dude.
Mm-hmm.
Not worried about it. No more than 30 seconds after that dude comes out, 15 to 20 of them come walking up.
Oh, dang.
So they've got feeders out there, so they're
Okay.
coming to get food.
Okay.
And I'm like, this is it. Like, they're here. Like, okay. And from where I'm at, I'm probably 50 yards away, 50, 60 yards. Man, I couldn't tell a size. I was expecting them to look a lot bigger than what they did from where I was sitting. I couldn't get a good read on how big these guys actually were. So I was like, okay, well, what do I do? I'm like, I don't want to shoot some dinky little thing and have everybody else roll up with these big guys. And I'm standing there with this little thing like, hey, look what I got, guys. I don't know, I might have shot it.
Yep.
So I just sit and wait. Like, I'm just watching them come out and eat. And I finally start deciding when this one who I'd kind of had my eye on starts fighting with everybody. And the guy said they'll do that. They'll start fighting for the food. And so he pushes a whole bunch of them off the feeder, and they all kind of back away, sit down, and just start waiting. I was like, all right, man. I'm like, this dude is a big guy, apparently, of this pack. Like, he's the one who's causing some issues. He boxed everybody out. So I was like, I guess this is my dude.
Yep. You hear me?
Under the feeder this whole time, and I can't good shot. I am going. Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I lost you for a second.
I was like, man, I'm gonna blow my shot. I was like, because I missed it. I should have shot earlier when I saw him.
Mhm.
I was like, he's gonna hide under the feeder and he's gonna leave, and he's never gonna give me that good broadside. I was like, I blew it.
Mhm.
And so I just keep waiting, and it felt like an eternity, man. Just felt like it took forever.
Mhm.
And so I was like, all right. Finally, he starts to leave, and he stops, and I'm like, that's it. Like, that's the last chance I got. I pull the trigger,
Mhm.
and I look, and he just takes off.
Mhm.
I mean, before I even had a chance to pull the bolt back, he was gone. And I was like, sorry, I'm gonna cuss here for a second. I know you're not too bad, but it's my mindset. I got to put it out there, and I go, I fucked up.
Yep.
I was like, that was it. Like, and I look at my phone, and man, it is 6:30 in the morning.
No,
And
yes.
I just sat there and I was like, I blew this whole thing. I was like, I just screwed up. I was like, I put my sights where they needed to be. I was like, it was right where it should have been. I was like, if I did everything right, I was like, this pig should have dropped. And he didn't. He took off flying. And so did all the rest of them as soon as that shot racked out. And so I'm just left there, 6:30 in the morning with my thoughts. And I am just beating myself up. I was like, I screwed this whole thing. I mean, I was glassing where he was so hard, looking for any blood. I'm like, man, there's got to be something. I'm like, there's no way I missed that bad that I didn't even hit, and I don't see any blood, nothing. And I was just like, I lost him. I was like, that was my shot. And then about 15 minutes later, I hear another shot back to where I knew we had dropped my buddy Jake off. So I was like, okay. I'm like, I don't feel as bad. I'm like, somebody else shot. So like, there's something. And so again, I'm just take my gun again. So I wasn't sure if we were going to find blood. So I didn't want to shoot again if anything came back, because I wasn't sure what. I wasn't sure if I could even shoot again. Who knows? So I basically just take my rifle and put it across my legs and sit there in my stand and twiddle my thumbs and think about how bad I screwed this up and everything in between. And I mean, it is just eating me up. So finally 8 o'clock rolls around. And I mean, I was expecting the dude to be here at like 8:01. I don't know, but I wanted out of that stand. I wanted to go find it. I wanted to know what was going on. It was killing me. And so I hear the mule rolling around behind me at some point. And so I'm okay. I'm like, they're coming. Like, so at least I know, like, I am gonna get my answer here soon. Probably about 8:30, they come rolling up the hill to where I'm at, and he's got a little, like wagon trailer behind him. I look in there, and there's a ram in there, but nothing else. But both Josh and Jake are in there. So I'm like, okay, somebody got something and somebody didn't. So they pull up and they're like, well, we know you shot, so what'd you hit or not? And I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm like, I know exactly where he went. I can tell you the footpath he went. Like, I just sat there and just watched that whole time, watching where he went. So I was like, I can tell you right where he went. He's like, all right, man. He's like, climb on down. Let's go look. I climb on down. I'm like, okay, who got the ram? My buddy Jake is like, yep, I got him. But he's like, let's go look for your dude. So we go out there just on the other side of the feeder, and he goes, all right, where was he? Pointed it out, and you can see where his hooves dug in the dirt before he took off running. There's no blood there. And I was like, okay. So we kind of look. He goes, well, where'd he go? And he went kind of northwest right off of that. And we start walking, and there's just a trail of blood. And I was like, oh, man. I'm like, I got him. I was like, I don't know where he went. But I'm like, that is a lot of blood. Like, I mean, it was on the flowers. It was soaking this clay. So, I mean, it wasn't even getting like absorbed into the clay fully. It was soaking the clay. I'm like, that is a lot of blood. The guide is super, super happy. I was like, okay, well, if he's happy, I'm like, that's good enough for me.
Yep.
So we're tracking. We lose it for a little bit, just because we thought it went basically off and to the right, and he didn't. He actually went off to the left. We picked up the trail there pretty good, but I couldn't tell you how far he ran, but he made it a pretty good distance. I was actually the first one to spot him. I totally second guessed myself again because I thought I didn't know what I was talking about, but his backside was sticking out behind this dead tree, and I'm like, is that it? And I was like, no, that can't be it. And the guy's like, yeah, man. He's like, that's your pig. He's like, let's go get him. I was like, okay. I'm like, man, I just shot something. I was like, holy smokes. So we go over there, we find him, and I actually I lung shot him. So the guy was super happy about my shot, and I was like, and I explained everything I explained to you just, and I'm telling the guide that. He goes, man, I have seen these guys run like 100 yards with their heart hanging out of their body. He's like, these things are tanks. And figure that out real quick as we're dragging him out through the woods and all the brush and everything like that.
I'm going to put these pictures on the actual podcast when I edit it, but there's Ian and
Oh yeah. But that's him. Ended up asking our guide later. He said he's probably about 130 pounds, 120, 130. I was ecstatic, man. Like that adrenaline, that excitement, all of that stuff. Like we dragged him out. We took that picture, and I was cloud nine. Like that was surreal for me. And just talking about it with my friend and everything. And I don't know how much of stuff, but like for me, I don't remember pulling the trigger. I don't remember hearing the shot. I don't remember feeling the recoil from the rifle.
Yep.
I just remember I lined the scope up, and that was it. Like I took the shot, but I don't remember doing any of it. Yep. And so I'm like, I'm thinking about that after the fact, and it's just such a cool experience.
Yep.
So after that, like I said, we take everything back. They cut and clean everything for you, refrigerate it, keep it, since we're there for a couple days. But the guy did tell us more than likely we'd be able to knock ours out in one day. He's like, most people do try and take two, but he's like, you could knock this all out in one day. Mm-hmm. Okay. So we get back at 8 o'clock. No, sorry, we get back by around 9. And he's like, all right, well, whatever you guys need to do, go ahead, go take a break, go get some breakfast, whatever. And we're like, man, we could have saved some time this morning. Like we could sit down and have a nice breakfast and nope. So we got a nice break there. Jake told me all about how he got his ram. Took forever. The ram was actually hiding behind some other deer that were in the pen that we were in. Finally, the ram gave him a front shot, and he put it through. Came right out the backside. Great shot. Put him down immediately. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're lucky, man. Mine ran off and had me thinking I screwed everything up, and I was just sitting here kicking myself. I was like, at least you knew yours was down right there in front of you. But we were just excited. The biggest thing Jake and I both said, man, is we got to get our buddy Josh a bow kill. Yep. That was in that we'd both gotten to one, and so we're like, all right, we got to get Josh on the same level. So we head back out probably at like 10:30. Go walk around at this point because
like spot and stock.
Yeah, he drove us around, and then we get out and walk basically to the spots he knew a lot of the rams would be bedding down. Since it was getting pretty warm, they were going to start bedding down, and we'd lose them. No luck. And we went out and drove and walked for probably an hour and a half, and just nothing. We couldn't find them. He's like, man, I checked the normal spots. He's like, if they are not there, he's like, they are bedded down somewhere, and unless you walk on top of them, you're not going to find them.
Yep.
He's like, they'll stay that way all day until the heat kind of dissipates. Mm-hmm. And so that was kind of defeated, like after that first morning where we both got them. Mm-hmm. Nobody got anything on that little afternoon part there. And we were kind of down about it, but whatever. So he's like, come on back out at 6 p.m. So this is, like I said, 11:30, 12 o'clock. We go back to the bunk, and so we got like 6 hours of downtime. Mm-hmm. It was not bad though. There's a nice lake sitting over by us. We sat out in the shade under some trees. He kept talking about how humid it was out there. We're like, man, this ain't got anything on Illinois. Yeah. Like we sat outside pretty much the whole day, underneath these trees, sitting, talking, napping, everything in between. It was great. Just sitting out there, relaxing. And that was such a huge part of all this too. It was just, a getaway for the three of us.
Hard to beat a hunting camp.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. It really is. Like if people listening, if you guys haven't done it yet, take that trip. It is very well worth it. I can promise you that. It is something else that will relax and kind of ease your mind. Mm-hmm. So it was gorgeous. No complaints whatsoever for that downtime we had. So we get geared back up and get rolling at 6. And as soon as we start rolling out to get us put back up in some of the stands, we find the rams bedded down right where he said they usually go do. So we rolled by it. whole ton of them bedded down right there. So we tell Josh, grab his bow, and we're like, man, go. Like, grab it, pick your one out you like, and take your shot.
Yep.
And I told him, and I told the guide, I was like, I'm comfortable with after he releases and gets clear, like I'll take my shot. But I was perfectly fine waiting. I was in no rush to make sure he could get his kill. So he walks up, probably about 30 yards, finds a good one he likes, gets him, but doesn't put him down immediately. I get up to my spot, take my shot. My ram was actually at the top of the hill, and man, again, I don't remember which picture I sent you, but you can see where I felt. And again, I'll brag on myself a little bit on this one. I felt great about my shot placement on that ram, because it was right where it was supposed to be. Yeah, if you can see the right there on his shoulder. Oh yeah, man. And he dropped immediately. I had him up at the top of a hill, and he took a tumble for a hot second, but that was it. He was done and out. My buddy with the bow, his hadn't gone down yet, so I immediately boom hit it and gave him the rifle so we could make sure it was a quick kill for it.
Mm-hmm.
He had an amazing shot too. He was like, man, he's like, after the fact, he told me, man, I should have brought a rifle. He's like, that shot was great. But we were both super happy. Got both of them then. So right then, my hunt was done. And I was, again, man, I was living the dream. I was done. I was the first one done out of our group. So that was awesome.
You know, you got your money's worth.
Oh yeah.
Good, man.
Like my day is done and set. Again, this was all first day. This was that Friday. And so it was really neat. So we're talking, and I was like, man, I'll either wait for you guys back at the camp, or if one of you want me to stay with you. And I was maybe talking to Josh, and he had his bow. I was like, if you want me to stay, I'll come stay with you if we need it. And they're both like, no, man, we're good. Like, we'll get it handled. Again, I would too. You know, if I'm out hunting, it's going to be mine. So I was like, all right, cool. Our guide's like, hey, man, I will drop you off after everything is said and done. He's like, let's get them out to their stands. So we all hop in, get everybody dropped off. We hit a nice snag, though. So he forgets that our one guy is hunting with a bow, and he put him in a rifle stand, right about 60, 70 yards away from that feeder. And he totally forgot. Since I had lended him my rifle, he was thinking he still had a rifle.
Yep.
So luckily, I told our guide that I would go back and help him load the two rams up before he took me back to the cabin and dropped me off. While we go back, unbeknownst to any of us, Josh had dropped his release. And so it's just laying there on the ground. So we loaded the rams up, and as we're going to leave, we both kind of slam on the brakes, and we're like, man, his release is sitting there. I was like, man, I'll grab it. And I was like, we'll have to get back to him. And we're sitting in the, and the guy goes, oh man, he's like, I messed up. I'm like, what? He goes, man, I put your guy with a bow and a rifle stand. He goes, we got to move him. He's like, he can't be there. And I was like, oh, well, I'm like, man, at least we got the release to get back to, man. So we're flying. We are moving over all these hills and ruts. Like I said, there's rain and everything that have been going down. So there are just ruts and everything. So we go tearing through all of it, get to him and pull him down. And we're like, man, we put you in a rifle stand. He goes, I don't know. He's like, I lost my release too. So he's like, I was just making the best of it. Go, well, better news is we're going to move you, and we found your release. So he was super happy about that. We got him moved, set up, and dropped off, take me back. And as we are pulling back up to the bunk cabins, I mean, I was talking to the guide the whole way. They've got a whole bunch of stuff. They've got some like buffalo out there. So I was asked about the buffalo and everything, just curious, just wanted to know stuff. And so we're talking hunting and all this stuff. And as we're pulling up, I go, man, you wanna hear something else crazy? Like, yeah, go ahead. I go, I have never hunted a day in my life before. He goes, are you shitting me? I go, nope, man. I'm like, not a day in my life before have I ever hunted. And I did explain, I'm a police officer. Like, I've been around guns, like shoot bows, stuff like that. But I was like, man, I have never been hunting. And I was like, I'm the first one done. So I was like, I'm going to give those guys so much crap when they get back here.
Yep.
So he thought that was just hysterical. So then I'm sitting in the bunk, getting everything ready for me. Again, I'm still I can't stop looking at those pictures. I keep checking them out. I'm like, man, I did this. Still floating so high, still loving it. Same with the Ram. I didn't feel the trigger pull. I didn't feel the recoil, the noise, nothing. But it was such a cool thing just knowing. So I was still just out there. So I step back outside. I pull out a rocking chair. I was gonna go sit and just relax outside, and there's just some dude standing out there. I'm like, okay. Not unbeknownst to me, the other party who would be hunting after us the next couple of days had shown up, and they were getting moved into the building they were going to stay in. So, I meet them, talk with them. They are some hunters out of Wisconsin. Asked where we were from. Obviously said Illinois. Made sure, they were some good, solid Packers fans, just like me, which, they were.
Dang it.
Oh, yeah, they didn't see the hat. I was wearing a hat, and they're like, well, your Cubs are, hey, I'm like, Packers fans, all right? They're like, oh, yeah. So, we were set. That pays off later for me, though. I promise you. I got to rub it a little bit, Cody, but it pays off later. So I'm just kind of, mumbling around the camp, doing whatever. They end up leaving to go, I think, get some food and whatnot. On their way back, so I'm back outside. They pull up, and they're like, man, are your buddies still not back yet? And I was like, nothing, man. This is probably close to 8 o'clock, something like that. And you're done hunting at dark.
Okay.
It's getting dark. And so I was like, no, man. I'm like, I haven't heard anything from them. And so they sit down, and they're like, well, you want a beer? I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna say no.
Yeah.
And I'm walking over, and they go, well, man, there's this Wisconsin beer. You ever heard of Spotted Cow? I go, yeah, I have, man. I was like, and every time I'm up in Wisconsin, I'm grabbing some. I'm like, anytime I know I got friends up in Wisconsin, I'm grabbing. So I think the Packers fan thing got me some Spotted Cow. So told you it pays off. I loved it.
It is good.
By the time I'm finished up, kind of chatting with them, drinking the beer, my buddies come back. I had heard a shot go out in the meantime, so I'm like, okay, I know one of them shot. They pull up, and their attitudes are not right. And I was like, well, I heard a shot. And he goes, yeah, I bet you did. And both of them just kind of walked inside our bunk. And the guys from Wisconsin were like, and I go, boys, I'm like, thanks for the beer. But I was like, I'm going to go check on my guys. I was like, that was not the reaction I expected. Yeah. They're like, no, we were expecting some hunting stories. And I was like, I was too. Yeah. So I walk inside, and I get the bad news that both of them had shot and hit their hogs, but they couldn't find them. And so that was their kills. That was kind of a bummer.
Yep.
I did take a hit. Again, I don't know if they'll ever hear this, so if they do, they might come beat me up later. But it's an ego boost for me because, man, I was like, man, I got mine. Like, I got both my kills. Like, I didn't want to be that type of dude. I was like, because obviously they're bummed. I was like, I can't rub this in anymore. I was like, I got to let it be. But so overall, they were both super happy, though. They still both got their rams, which is technically from this hunt is what you pay for. You basically pay for the ram and get the hog for free.
Okay.
And so they both got them. Everybody got some neat. We all decided we were going to do just the skulls. So we did the European mounts. We're just going to keep the skulls. We all are doing some different ways to clean them. Again, me personally not knowing much about it, I probably annoyed the crap out of my buddy Jake too much, trying to figure out. I don't know, Cody, I'd asked you a few things about meat and whatnot and everything in between, just trying to get it all figured out. I still don't have super great answers. Ended up skinning and boiling. Jake and I did our heads. Again, being the police officer, Cody knows that life can get a little hectic. And so I did not have a whole lot of time to get out and try and get whatever was left after we boiled it, scraped off my skull for a little bit longer than I probably would have liked. And so by the time I did go get it, after I got everything I thought you would need to get it, it just absolutely reeked. And I mean, I was having a heck of a time getting the stuff cut off. And I mean, the smell just kept killing me. And I just didn't have the time to really devote to working on it. And so I got it out there. And after like probably an hour of working, and I was getting like just itty bits of stuff off, I was like, I can't keep doing this. So I gave up and I actually buried it. So it is buried. Hopefully that is going to help. It's going to take a little bit longer, but I don't have to deal with it personally. I was a little frustrated at that point, and I was like, you know what? I'm burying this sucker, and I'm like, if it doesn't even turn out, so be it. I'll smash it with a hammer. I was just frustrated. I'm a little bit happier now. I think burying it's going to be a good way. And so overall, though, man, it was just an experience.
If that doesn't work, reboil it, take it to a car wash, and use their pressure washer.
See, okay. That is what somebody else had told me too, that you can just like power wash them. They're like, now don't wear clothes you're going to care about.
Yeah.
But they're like, you can take it in there and just hit it with
you take it to, you don't have to do it at your house. Take it to there. And
oh, yeah. So that may be my next option if all else fails, man. I don't know. I'm like I said, I'm winging stuff.
Yep. So that would be my recommendation. So a couple questions. Number one, what kind of RAM is that? Do you know? Do you have a name or anything?
He said it, and honestly, man, I could not tell you. They had some issues where I think you were only supposed to be hunting a certain kind of ram, but within these, I say pens, but these pens are giant. I think a whole bunch of different kinds had gotten in, and so I actually could not tell you for sure what it was. Again, that goes to my inexperience and my nervousness of not paying attention.
I know nothing. I know nothing about ram.
I got nothing for you.
Yeah, I know obviously the native. I know bighorn and stuff like that, but I know they're non-native. I know they were brought in, but I don't know. I don't know anything about them. So that's pretty cool. So I was really interested in that. And I guess, have you ate any ram or pig yet?
So I'm not. I've got it all up in the freezer. I was real tempted to do the back straps of the pig, but I was like, you know what? I'm gonna wait until I kind of flesh some more things out. Kind of bad use of word there, but flesh some more things out, get some more stuff figured out, some recipes, how I want to do stuff. So I was like, before I let anything go bad where I'm not making up my mind, I was like, I'll freeze it and come back to it.
So like I said, my dad and brother have killed pigs, and we treated it just like domestic pork, and it was really, really good. Their pigs are smaller. No, they killed one pig your size. The other one was a little smaller though. But we just had pork chops. We ground some up and made pork burger. It was every good. We didn't have a bad meal. So if you cook it like you would normal pork, I don't see you going wrong at all.
All right. My one I'm real interested in cooking is the one side of ribs where you can tell the exit wound was, because there's a big old hole in the one side. I was like, well, that's pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie. Those 308s can do some hump behind them. So there's the one side of ribs has got a big old hole through it. So that'll be a fun one to cook, I'm sure.
Yeah. Now the ram, I have no advice for you.
So the guide says the ram is so gamey, he will not even eat it.
Really?
And he's like, man, I live out here, I work out here. He's like, that ram is so gamey. He's like, you need to soak it in something for at least 24 hours. And he was very specific on the at least. Again, me being me, I shot the thing and I'm going to go full into this. I'm going to eat it. It may be awful, but I'm at least going to give it a try, because how can you not? Like, it might be some of the gamiest stuff I've ever ate, but I'm going for it.
Worst case scenario, make it into jerky. I mean,
I'm sure I can find some way to grind it up, jerky, whatever. There's something I will be able to do to use this, because I don't want it to go to waste. Like I said, it's mine, man. And so I'll have to find something I can do.
Yeah, I bet you'll find something. That may take a while. Um, you know how many acres that ranch was?
Oh man, I'd have to look, but it is so they have, like I said, different pens for different animals. And then from the looks of it, out north of me, again, while I was sitting contemplating life and how badly I screwed up, I could glass a whole bunch of what I'm assuming the other pens were. And
Okay.
I'm assuming those were like their breeding and storage because there were a ton of animals. Like I couldn't tell you what, they were a little too far out for that, but I
Mhm.
could see them all moving around and running around. So they just have a mass amount of land. Again, I'm sure it's on their website if I were to pull it up, but
Yeah.
off the top of my head, couldn't tell you. But
I'll
they
put I'll
have
put the
pretty
link
pretty good
in this
amount.
video
Yeah,
in this
yeah.
video version of the podcast if anybody's interested in it. Um, yeah, I just was real curious to talk to you about it. We're definitely now that you kind of talked about your trip, and I'm gonna put these pictures into kind of loop through it, the video. Uh, but we're definitely gonna have to plan something for the fall. You come
Oh
out and
yeah, man.
so
I'll be all for it.
mhm.
I'll probably have to find myself a good hunting shotgun. It's again something like this is all new for me. Shotguns aren't new for me, but most of my shotguns are tacked out, and so
Yeah,
they are not necessarily hunting friendly
yeah.
shotguns.
You
But
put a plug
now
in
that
the
I'm getting
middle.
rolling, I want to start getting into some more stuff.
Yeah, if you want a kind of, it's cheaper, but they're both good brands. Either you do a Remington, um, or a Mossberg. They may have combos, slug and smoothbore combo kits. They're good guns. A lot of we have a Mossberg 500 20 gauge, and a lot of deer have died by it.
So I've got a Mossberg 500 12 gauge that's all tacked out. So if I were to go with one, it'd probably be a Mossberg just because again,
Mhm.
I've got one. Now is it something I could take hunting with me?
Yeah.
Not a chance, but it's what I know. And so I probably would end up running with something like that.
Yep. So yeah, we definitely have to maybe plan a deer hunt, and then maybe also coyote or waterfowl. Get you here.
Coyote, coyote is real interesting to me. That is one I've been looking into quite a bit. It's one my buddy Jake has talked about quite a bit. He's a big coyote hunter too. He again has way more stuff than I do. He's got some night vision, some IR lights,
So
everything.
that would be cool. I don't
So,
say I usually don't night hunt because I
so
just bought a new light and I haven't used it yet. Normally I do morning and late afternoon.
yeah, he is spun up, and so again, is that my new? I don't have that type of stuff, but
Mhm.
coyotes kind of sound like a challenge, and again, I got to go for them.
You have
So,
do you have an AR?
oh yeah,
Yeah, just take it.
yep,
Yep, just take. I mean,
I
you
got a
can
couple.
0.8 too, but I use my work AR. So
Yeah, that was my thoughts too. I don't
Mhm.
think I'd be too bad with that, so I might take that out there and
Yep.
take out some coyotes. Maybe help some people's dogs.
Mhm.
Who knows? Because those coyotes can get nasty. So
Yep.
again, when it's something like that, like the coyotes and the hogs,
Mhm.
again, like they're a challenge and they're an invasive species or something that causes those issues. So I'm all for it.
Yep, kind of what I've always talked about is long as the animal, first thing, every animal I kill has a purpose, like you're
Yep.
saying. Whether it's for food for me, population control, it's a nuisance, whatever.
Yep.
And also like so which this hogs, like when you said little hog or big hog, to me, it's same thing like whitetail deer. Like I don't care if it's a button buck, a forky, a giant, as long as you're happy with it.
Oh yeah.
That's all I care. And if you're proud of that animal, you're happy with that animal. That's all I care about. Yeah. Do I let the small ones go because I want to grow big? Yeah, but I've been hunting forever.
Yep.
When my buddy, well Jesse, our buddy,
Oh, yeah.
killed that 110, 120 class 8 pointer, his biggest buck. Would I have shot it? No. Guess what? I am tickled to death that he shot that buck. And I
Yep.
was so happy to be there, to experience that. And I'll be honest with you, like you had talked to me maybe a couple weeks before your trip saying you were
Yeah.
getting into hunting. And then next thing you know, I'm getting pictures of this Raymond hog. I'm like, hell
Oh yeah,
yeah.
man.
Like
It was
perfect. This is
great, and
awesome.
that's the other thing that goes. And so I forgot a part there. As we were going to get my hog, my buddy Jake, again, the guy had been hunting forever. He goes, man, he's like, I thought you messed up. He's like, I heard your first shot. He's like, we just got settled, and he's like, you're already shooting. He goes, man, he's like, Ian did it. He did the typical first hunter thing, and he shot the first thing that walked out in front of him. told them everything that had gone on. We'd seen my pig. He goes, man, I couldn't be happier to be wrong. And again, like that like fellowship of hunting, like there's no competition in a lot of hunters. Like, yeah, there is, but it's friendly competition. All these hunters I meet, man, they are just so excited that you want to become a part of, something they truly enjoy.
Yep.
And so again, like that's why I wanted to send you the pictures right away, that I'm like, man, this is exciting for me. And I know for some fellow hunters that it's just that experience. They know what I'm feeling right then. And so it's exciting for them too. And that feeling, that kind of camaraderie is just awesome.
Oh yeah. Yep. And kind of get a little bit away from hunting, but at the same time, like I know as a fellow officer, like it's just nice to get away from things for a while. Go out in the woods, get away from people, only be around the people you like and stuff. It's nice.
That was a huge relief for me. So again, like I said earlier, since being the school resource officer, I try and save all of my vacation time and everything like that up for summers and winter breaks. And as much as I love my schools, I love dealing with my kids and everything in between. Come the end of the semesters, man, I'm needing a break. And I think anybody who deals with teenagers on a regular basis could answer that same question and be like, yeah, Jesse, principal, would be probably understanding pretty well of those feelings. You love your kids to death so much. Sometimes you just want to give them a nice big bear hug, and they will.
I got to give you credit, man. Like I hate going to juvenile calls. I hate it. And I mean, obviously I got a job to do and I do it. And I believe I do it well, but man, sometimes I'd rather deal with my basic old drunk or meth head than do a crappy juvenile that hasn't even really committed a crime. Usually they don't want to listen to their parents and stuff.
Yep.
Like, I'm like, you're not a bad kid. You're just going through some stuff. Like
teens are a whole different world, man. So like you said, and even if I wasn't out hunting, just being out in Oklahoma, like I said, this tiny little town, there's nobody near us until that second group of hunters showed up. That was it. Like I felt perfectly comfortable to literally fall asleep outside and had no worries. I mean, it just that freedom, that being outdoors and everything like that you said is just such a good break.
Yep.
Especially like we said in our line of work, you need them. It's that mental kind of relief and just everything that comes with it that makes it such an experience. It's not just a trip. It's not just a vacation. It's literally an experience.
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of cool to. First, I can already tell you're hooked. Just talking to you. I mean, I could tell when you were just texting me, talk to you in person. I could tell you're hooked, and you kind of got to experience it all, man. Like you obviously had the success. You got to, but you thought you screwed up, so you had to. You had to live with that for a while. You saw your buddies, had come on hard times. At the same time, though, you met some random hunters, and you got to experience that hunting culture, even though they're from a different state, and you guys are in Oklahoma. Completely different state. Hey, have a beer. And that's what I love about this, man. It's like, oh, you're a hunter, me too, and boom, you're best friends all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, it just rolls. And again, I had no idea what I was talking about, but I'm telling these guys like, hey, this was my experience. Like, if you think your hog's gonna go down, I'm like, don't freak out. I'm like, because it might not. I was like, mine didn't. I told them my whole story, and they were just like, man, that's good to know, because you're kind of. I'm like, no. Like they don't drop. I'm like, these things are tanks. You kind of give them that pat, and they're that like dense pat where you're like, oh man, you're like, that's a big boy. Well, that's these pigs. And sadly, again, to my own ego a little bit, not to disparage these guys, as we are picking up our meat to leave. It was at the same time our guide was bringing the guys from Wisconsin back from their morning hunt there on Saturday. And we had heard some shooting. Nothing in it.
That sucks. That's
The only positive thing is we don't think either of them hit what
okay.
they were shooting at. Again, so Cody, I don't know how wide your thing is. Hopefully it is, but if those Wisconsin hunters are somehow listening to this, guys, I'm really sorry. I'm not making fun of you. But man, they missed. So they missed. So again, to my own ego, I'm like, man, I don't know what I'm even doing. And I got both of mine, and these people came down, and they're these hunters, and
Mhm.
they even missed. So I was like, man, I feel good.
Mhm.
So that was exciting. Again, if they're listening somehow, some way, don't come find me and beat me up. I'm hiding down here in Illinois, so
Yeah.
I think I'm safe. But yeah, I felt very confident. Again, it may be some beginner's luck. I may go hunting for the rest of my life now and never kill anything else again because I'm talking this much smack. But so be it, man. This was a great experience. So I'll take my win and leave it at that.
Yeah. Well, I think on that we'll end this recording here in a little bit, and then I'll talk to you afterwards. But yeah, Ian, thank you for coming on. Appreciate
Oh,
it.
Cody, man, thanks for having me. I love getting that message from you, being like, "Hey, man, would you want to do this?" I was like, "Yeah, that
Well, I
sounds awesome." So
feel like the
I'm
only
excited.
one. I know all these hunters, and none of them are hunting right now. And
Yeah.
the new guy to hunting, hey, I went on a hunt. I'm like, oh, we got to get you on. Like,
Heck yeah, man.
awesome.
I'm all for it, man. So
Yeah.
this was great.
So again, thanks, Ian. Guys, this is podcast 14. Hey, all the numbers on the podcast, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all of them are continuing to go up. I appreciate all the love and support. If you like this podcast, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave me a review if you're listening to it on audio. But yeah, I appreciate it, guys. And you guys stay safe out there and enjoy the rest of your summer. Thanks.